wanting to talk to you today about keto adaptation. So if you follow our work, then you realize that we are a huge advocate for a ketogenic diet. Of course, like anything, it's not for everyone, but if you are one of those people where the ketogenic diet can work, it's a fantastic metabolism to experience. So many benefits, neuroprotection, age-related disease mitigation, there's just a lot. So on top of that, obviously, most people get into it for fat loss. It's an incredible way to burn body fat and stay lean year-round. So one of the main things that people run into as far as challenges when going into a ketogenic diet is going through that keto adaptation phase. And so as soon as you start to reduce carbohydrates to the degree that you start producing ketones, you start to begin a process of adaptation where your body becomes more and more fat adapted over time. And this period can take anywhere from a week to a couple months. And there are two things I wanted to talk about that will make the process much more graceful. You have to stay hydrated, drink much more water. A ketogenic diet requires that you drink much more water, and you need to keep your electrolytes up, specifically sodium, and they're all interrelated. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is my favorite way to ensure that my electrolytes are high and that I'm also getting even more fluids. So the number one way, in my opinion, to do that is by consuming bone broth regularly. So bone broth is a very, very ancient human food. And there is a theory that's gaining more respect that we actually started to wield tools not for making fire or hunting in the beginning, but actually for opening bones to get into the marrow. So what I really love about bone broth, aside from the nutrition aspect, which I'll get into in a moment, is the fact that you can heavily salt it and it doesn't get unpalatable. So you can make bone broth with whatever type of bones you'd like. We're huge advocates for wild animal bones like elk, antelope, venison, but anything local, grass-fed, at least organic will do the trick. And I'm going to go over today a very simple way to do it. I'm going to show you how I make it, and so we'll get after that. Before we get into that, some things to understand about just how amazing bone broth is. So normally when we consume proteins, we're eating skeletal meat off an animal, and that's giving us a certain amino acid profile. And that's great for feeding our muscles. But something that's forgotten and something that's not eaten often enough or at all is the soft tissue proteins. So the collagen that feeds our connective tissue, our ligaments, our fascia, all these soft tissues that comprise so much of our structure require a certain nutrition. And we don't usually eat that. And so by consuming bone broth that also has sometimes the connective tissue connected to it, like ligaments and cartilage and things like this, we're going to get a plethora of hyaluronic acid, glucosamine, chondroitin. Instead of supplementing for joint health with these synthesized forms of these nutrients, we can get that in a whole food form straight up from bone broth. And it's delicious. You feel incredible. It's amazing for recovery, rich in proline, a whole matrix of amino acids that we don't get unless we eat bone broth or soft tissue in general. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you how we make it. In this video, I'm going to be making it with a local grass-fed lamb bone, a neck bone. And again, you can do this with whatever bones you want, but keep it clean, keep it local, get it from animals who are living out their biological imperative, pasture-raised. Anyway, we'll get into more of that as time goes on, but let's get into how to make this stuff. So guys, beyond keto adaptation, this is one of the essential human foods that we evolved eating. So it's just important to consume. And very few companies make this in an affordable way, where you can just buy it at like a store like Whole Foods or something like that. And I just feel like it's such a better practice to actually get in touch with the food itself, know exactly where it comes from. I know the woman who farms this lamb, and it's just a better thing to have that relationship. So It's very simple to make. You can make this as elaborate as you want. You can throw wild herbs in it. You can stoke it out to whatever degree you want, but a really, really simple and cost-effective way. These bones cost $3, this lamb neck bone. And I've got one local red onion that my friend grew. He grew this garlic too, local garlic. And then this celery from, I don't know where the celery came from, but it's some organic celery. Also high in sodium, so it's also going to add to that electrolyte mix. It's going to keep you from having, hopefully none of, but at least mitigating and lowering the symptoms you're going to experience from keto adapting. So this is super important, guys. This could make or break your attempt at becoming keto adapted and experiencing the benefits of a ketogenic diet. It's super important that you remember this. Hydration and electrolytes. Boom. If you can do that, it's going to greatly enhance your ability to adhere to the diet and make it through that beginning, because that's only in the beginning. That goes away. And then you start to just experience an incredible state of clarity, fat burning, and I just love it. For me, I like to do it most of the year. I like to cycle off it too, but you'll experiment with that for yourself. But let's get into it. So all I'm going to do is half this onion. I'm going to throw that whole onion in there, just like that. Half. Boom. Done. Here, I'm just going to crush some of these cloves. Open them up. And that's what's cool, guys, is you can continually throw more plant matter into this broth. As you start to fully extract the broth, as it simmers overnight and into the next day, eventually there's not going to be much to offer from these plants, celery and garlic and onion and stuff like this. And you can just fully remove them from the broth. But and then as you drink it and the broth goes down, you can fill it up with more water and you can add more and more stuff to it. Wild herbs, medicinal mushrooms, you name it. So I'll start with like 4, 5, maybe 6 cloves of garlic. And then I take this celery, cut it right in half. Normally you don't eat the tops of celery, but you can throw these, and they're bitter. They have medicinal compounds in them, really good stuff for your body, but we don't usually eat them, right? We're not really a bitter kind of culture. So this is a good way to get some foods that you wouldn't normally eat right into a very nourishing broth. It's almost like a tea. So anything you throw into it's going to be fantastic. All I have right here is celery, onion, garlic. So I'm going to show you the crock pot I use. You could do this on a stovetop where you have it on a low simmer, but I like to use the electric pot. If you have the ability to do that, I think it's just a really nice way to have it just going. Us, the kids, we just tap into it. You can just take it right off the top whenever you're feeling like you want some. So guys, the reason that we use a crock pot is because we need to slow cook these bones to get the most out of them. You can't just cook this up in a couple hours and be like, I got my bone broth. It takes a while to break down these bones, to get into the marrow and to start to extract all the nutrition that we want from it. So this little guy, crock pot brand, the original slow cooker, love this thing. You can keep this thing going, and definitely it's got a number of different settings, so you can get it real hot relatively quick on like a 4-hour cycle, and then you can get it to like a 10-hour slow cook that you can do overnight. So I'm gonna fill this thing up with water, and then one thing that I do, there's a couple ways you can do this. So your lamb bones can either go in raw if you want, or you can bake them at a low temperature for like 20 to 30 minutes. Some people think that this will open the bones, make them a little more porous, so you can get everything out in a more efficient way. I'm not totally sure if that's even true. I do like the taste though when I do roast them a little bit first. And then one thing I don't have here, which you'll want to add, is like a tablespoon or 2 of apple cider vinegar, which is said to also help with that process of breaking down the bones, getting the most nutrition out of it as you can. So I'm going to fill this thing up with water. We're going to get this stuff in it, and then we'll get it going. All right, guys, so I got my crock pot filled. Don't fill it up too high. Leave like a few inches because all of the material you're going to put inside is going to raise the water level. This is the most simple way. So again, you can stoke it out with wild herbs, medicinal mushrooms. You can make this a very nutritive broth. It just depends on how deep you want to go with it or how much time you have. For instance, I did this in the quickest way possible so you can see the most cost-effective and the fastest way to create a nourishing broth that you can add a plethora of salt to. You're going to want to have 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt a day depending on your body. As soon as the insulin levels start to drop, as you start to become fat adapted, your kidneys are going to work in a different way. You're going to excrete a lot more water, and with that water, sodium and other minerals. So it's really important to pay attention to your micronutrition, and you will notice if you're not getting enough salt because you're going to have cramping, headaches, lethargy. So these are the things that we're trying to avoid, right? We want to get through this hump and experience the epic benefits of a ketogenic diet. So check it out. This is as simple as this. I filled this up. I got it on the high cycle. I'll be able to come back to this in like 4 hours and turn it down to low. We don't want to cook it on high for a long time. We want to cook it on low. So delicious grass-fed lamb bones right here. There's some meat on it too. So drop my bones in. Got my garlic, local. Thank you, Tom at Green Earth. Got that. Got my onion. And then I got my celery. And you know what? I'll probably just do this amount. And then probably tomorrow, after I've like just fully extracted this celery of everything it has to offer, I'll throw this bad girl in like this. Okay? Perfect level like that. One thing I like to do from time to time is just drop like a bunch of collard greens in there. This is a great way to get micronutrition. So the ketogenic diet doesn't have to be devoid of micronutrition. It just simply doesn't. And if you're getting your carbohydrates from the right sources, then you're going to get micronutrition. So this is a great way to get micronutrition through wild herbs, organic veggies, things like this. So from time to time, I'll drop some collards in, some kale, some chard. It's just a great way. So I'm going to cover this up. And we're good to go. And now I've got this is going to make this whole place smell really, really good. Hopefully the people I train in here at the gym won't mind. And yeah, that's it, guys. So remember, keto adaptation, the most important things you need to remember: water and salt. Okay? Make sure you're drinking lots of water and make sure you're getting salt. And some people drink salt water when they need to get their salt when they're going through keto adaptation. That just isn't something that I would want to do. So 2 birds with 1 stone. Get this ancient nutrition and get your salt in the same throw. Okay? So thanks for watching, guys. I hope that video helps, and stay tuned for more content coming from The Resilient Life.